basically I started out of university and I went into radio, which was my first media job. And I was training to be a program producer in a time when jocks ruled. And it came as a real shock, having come out of the the late 70s and feminism and, opening your own doors and doing all that sort of stuff. And then suddenly I'm in this male-dominated, I've got more testosterone than I know what to do with world. My first piece of television, though, in terms of acting, was actually The Protesters. And of all and it was an amazing collection of cast members. I mean, we had Merata Mita, we had Don Selwyn, just, people who really are the bulwark of the Maori film and television movement in New Zealand. I've had this great career where I've worked in every part of television, both on screen and off screen. Documentaries as a researcher, and then going on to direct, and then going on to produce, and then executive produce them, and then magazine shows, live shows, children's series. I even worked for the Natural History Unit at one stage. I figured out that television was really the gig that I wanted to do, or film. It was going to be either film or television. And so I've been wandering most of my life back and forth between both of them. Wellington was just that was where film was happening, really. It was a time when there was a lot of filmmaking going on, and we decided to start a women's group, which is the forerunner, of course, to WIFT in New Zealand now, and there was Gayleen and Robin and Fiona and I, and we met at John Barnett's offices, actually, in his big pink front room overlooking Oriental Parade. We also started, with Barry Barclay and I, we started, and Merata, I guess, we started agitating for a recognition of what is Māori on screen, and trying to put some foundation work into how many Māori were actually working in the industry. One of my ambitions was to go into news and current affairs. So I felt that it was, for a journalist, for a person interested in current affairs, it was the top of the ladder. And to be on screen during the Gulf War, when big things happened, both here and abroad, and to be with a new television channel, that was amazing. There was no way we could go but up. We couldn't go down because we were already on the bottom. I think that Nightline worked because we never knew what was going to go in from day to day. Belinda was especially good as a writer, as an innovator of taking the bizarre. We had a great team working on it. Sometimes, once again, it's that underdog mentality, and you give people a chance to do something that the established broadcasters would not allow them to do. If you were an editor, you wouldn't be going out and making a piece of television for a late night show. That wouldn't happen. And yet it was funny because when I left Nightline, of course, and joined Television New Zealand and Current Affairs, they immediately started to emulate this show. One of the things that drives me completely nuts about news and current affairs is the whole Mr. and Mrs. and bobbing at each other and looking at each other and having meaningful glances and things when, it's just all bollocks, It was like making 6 movies back to back, and it was a challenge to make it in Te Reo. It was a challenge to find the actors, to find the directors, to have as many Māori as possible working on the programs, and to lead that and to make sure that we delivered those. So I'm very proud of that series. Unfortunately, it all ended very badly with my partners, and then became, a splashing success on Sunday papers and all that sort of nonsense. There's been a handful of people in the world who've built a television station and taken it to air. There are only a handful of people in the world who can do that. And even though it nearly broke me in half, on the day that we launched, I thought, hell, I did that. And I think that it's difficult for somebody like me with, an A-type personality to think, okay, now you've done your big thing, maybe you should, take it easy now. I think it's been institutionalised, and perhaps that was always inevitable. There's always a hell of a lot of politics when you do anything with Māori. And that's that's been a difficult road to navigate sometimes. I think that if I were going to do anything for Māori broadcasting again, I would ignore standard broadcasting altogether and just do web-based media. I have a company called Freckle Films, and my partner Alison Carter and I, between us, we figured out that we had 6 decades of experience, which, I'm not sure whether to be proud or whether to be gobsmacked about, but Al is a superb documentary maker, a wonderful journalist, a voracious reader, an intellectual, and I, on the other hand, I really enjoy the organisational aspects as well as the storytelling aspects, and we've found that together we can, make these documentaries. I think that if you're going to, make drama, you really have to that's a bit of a marathon, and I think that you have to find a subject and a script that you're absolutely passionate about, because it takes so much out of you. I mean, there's no game without the pain, that play. But documentaries, I don't feel as whipped doing one of those as I've ever felt making some of the other media that I've made.